Here's something that happens to almost every gardener I have ever talked to. You spend a whole season out there. You water, you weed, you wait, and things grow. But come midsummer, your beds start looking tired. The tomatoes slow down. The soil gets pale and hard. You push a finger into it and it stops at the first knuckle like you've hit pavement. You add fertilizer. Things perk up for 2 weeks, then right back to tired. And the honest truth you never quite say out loud is, you don't actually know what's wrong with your soil. You just know something is. I lived inside that problem for close to 20 years. Then one spring morning, I walked over to my neighbor Harold's garden. Amish farmer, same county, same rainfall, same everything, and I stopped at his fence and just stared. His soil was black, not dark brown, black. He pushed both hands into it like it was warm bread dough. It didn't resist. It didn't crack. It opened right up, cool and moist, and when he pulled his hands out, it crumbled off his fingers in loose, dark chunks, alive with earthworms. I looked back at my own beds 20 minutes down the road, pale, gray, baked hard on top by July. Same sky, same rain, two completely different worlds underneath. I asked Harold one question. I said, "What do you put in that soil?" He didn't reach for a product name. He didn't mention a brand or a method or a trick. He just looked at me and said, "Nothing you can buy." Today, I'm going to show you exactly what he meant. 5 things the Amish do to their soil, season after season, that turn ordinary ground into something that looks and performs nothing like what most of us are working with. No expensive inputs, no equipment you don't already own, just a system built on patience and a philosophy that the modern gardening industry has spent decades trying to replace with a bag. Stay to the end, because Harold taught me a 30-second bare hand test his father used every spring, no kit, no lab, that will tell you more about your soil in half a minute than anything you can order online. Let's get into it. Before I walk you through what Harold does, I want to make sure we're starting from the same place, because if you understand the philosophy first, everything that follows will make sense immediately. And if you skip the philosophy and go straight to the steps, you'll probably do the steps halfway and wonder why it's not working. Here is the core difference between how most of us think about soil and how the Amish think about soil. Most of us think of soil as a surface, a medium, something to put plants into so their roots have something to grip while we pour fertilizer on top. We think feeding the plant is the job. We buy a bag of 10-10-10, follow the directions, and expect results. When results don't come, we buy a different bag, a better bag, a more expensive bag. Harold doesn't feed his plants. He hasn't bought a bag of fertilizer in his adult life. What he does instead is feed the soil. And that distinction, feed the soil, not the plant, is the entire Amish philosophy in 5 words. Here's what that means in practice. Healthy soil isn't just ground-up rock and decomposed matter. It's a living system. A single tablespoon of truly healthy soil contains more living organisms than there are people on Earth. Bacteria, fungi, protozoa, nematodes, earthworms, beetles, mites, thousands of species working in a system so complex that soil scientists are still mapping it. These organisms are not incidental. They are the mechanism. They break down organic matter into forms plant roots can absorb. They produce compounds that suppress disease. They build the physical structure that allows water to penetrate and air to circulate. They form partnerships directly with plant roots, extending them sometimes by a factor of 100, reaching nutrients the root itself could never access alone. When that system is alive and functioning, plants don't struggle. They thrive the way Harold's do. Deep roots, dense foliage, heavy fruit, season after season without intervention. When that system is depleted, killed off by synthetic chemicals, destroyed by repeated tilling, starved by bare soil and no organic matter, plants survive on whatever you pour on top of them. They become dependent. Your garden becomes a maintenance problem instead of a food system. Harold explained it to me this way one afternoon. He said, "My grandfather never asked what to feed his tomatoes. He asked what to feed his ground. The tomatoes fed themselves after that." I've thought about that almost every time I've walked into my own garden since. The reason Amish soil is black is not a secret ingredient. It is the visible result of organic matter, compost, aged manure, leaf material, plant residue being added to the same ground consistently, year after year, decade after decade, generation after generation.
Organic matter is dark. The more of it your soil contains, the darker it gets. That darkness is not cosmetic. It is a direct indicator of biological activity, water retention, nutrient density, and long-term fertility. Most American garden soil sits at 1 to 2% organic matter. Harold's soil, when I asked him if he'd ever had it tested, he said his father had it tested once in the 1980s. It came back at just over 9%. 9% versus 1%. That is not a small gap. That is the entire difference between soil that works for you and soil that makes you work for it. Now let me show you how the Amish build it. The first thing Harold does every single season before a single seed goes in the ground is add organic matter to every bed. Not once, not when he remembers, every season, without exception, before anything else happens. For Harold, that means a 2 to 3 inch layer of finished compost spread across every bed in early spring. Not bagged compost from a garden center, his own, built from kitchen scraps, garden waste, straw, wood ash, and whatever organic material came off the property that year. Slow composted over 6 to 8 months in a simple heap behind the barn, dark, crumbly, and alive. The reason this step comes first is not just about nutrients, it's about re-inoculating the soil with biology after winter. Every spring, your soil needs to wake up. The organisms that drive fertility need food and structure to multiply. Fresh compost delivers both. It's the reset button and the fuel supply in one application. If you don't have your own compost yet, source aged compost locally. A farm, a municipality, a neighbor with a pile. The key word is aged. It should smell like earth, not rot. It should crumble, not clump. If it still smells sharp or looks stringy and unfinished, it needs more time. Spread it 2 to 3 inches deep across your beds and work it gently into the top 4 inches. Do not bury it deep. The biology you are introducing lives where oxygen reaches. Harold told me his family has done this on the same ground since his great-grandmother's time. Same beds, he said. Every year, another layer. You're not starting over, you're adding to something. Step 2. Age your manure, then age it more. Harold keeps a separate manure pile away from his main compost. Horse manure from his own animals, aged for a minimum of 12 months before it touches a garden bed, often longer. Fresh manure will burn plant roots. It carries weed seeds and pathogens. It's too hot, too raw, and too unstable to apply directly. Most gardeners who try manure and have a bad experience are using it too fresh. Aged manure is a completely different material. After 12 months of decomposition, the nitrogen mellows, the weed seeds die in the heat of the pile, the pathogens break down, and what remains is a dark, nearly odorless amendment that is extraordinarily rich in the slow-release nutrients and microbial life your soil needs most. Apply aged manure in the fall on beds you plan to plant in spring, 1 to 2 inches spread over the surface. Let the winter rain and freeze-thaw cycles work it down naturally. By planting time, it has integrated completely, and the bed is measurably better than it was in October. One caution Harold was firm about: know what your manure source has been feeding and spraying. Persistent herbicides can survive the composting process and devastate a garden. If you're sourcing from an outside farm, ask directly what goes on their fields. If they can't answer clearly, find a different source. Step 3. Never leave bare soil. Walk through Harold's garden at any point in the season, and you will not find a single square foot of exposed ground. Every bed, every path, every gap between plants is covered. 4 to 6 inches of straw laid down in early spring and topped up as it thins through the season. This is not cosmetic. Bare soil loses moisture to evaporation within hours of watering. Bare soil exposed to direct sun kills surface microorganisms. Bare soil compacts under rain impact. Bare soil invites weeds because nature will not leave a vacuum empty. Permanent mulch does 5 things at once. It holds moisture, cutting Harold's watering to a fraction of what most gardeners do. It moderates soil temperature, keeping roots cooler in summer and warmer in the shoulder seasons. It suppresses weeds by blocking light. It feeds the soil biology slowly as it decomposes from the bottom up, and it provides habitat for the ground beetles, earthworms, and beneficial insects that are working for you every hour of every day. Mary told me she once tried leaving a bed unmulched for a single summer to see what happened. By August, it was compacted, cracked, and full of weeds. It took 2 full seasons to bring it back. She has not left a bed bare since. Step 4. put the leaves back. Every autumn, Harold's family rakes leaves from the surrounding woodlot and piles them behind the barn. They have done this for as long as anyone in the family can remember. Those leaves sit in a simple wire enclosure for 12 to 18 months and transform into leaf mold, dark, spongy forest floor material that is dominated not by bacteria like compost, but by fungi. That fungal richness is exactly what most garden soils are missing. The mycorrhizal networks that connect plant roots to extended nutrient sources thrive in fungal-rich soil. Leaf mold feeds those networks directly. It also holds up to 500 times its own weight in water, which means beds amended with it hold moisture through dry spells that would stress or kill plants in ordinary ground. Leaf mold costs nothing. It requires no turning, no layering, no management. You pile the leaves, wet them down, and wait. Nature does the rest. Harold laughed when I asked him if he did anything special to his leaf pile. He said, "I leave it alone. That's the whole method." Step 5. Stop tilling. Start using a broad fork. This is the step that most gardeners resist the longest because tilling feels productive. The bed looks clean afterward. The soil looks fluffy and ready. It feels like preparation. What it actually is destruction. Every time you run a rototiller through a garden bed, you are shredding the fungal networks that took an entire season to establish. You are flipping the soil layers, burying surface organisms that need oxygen, and exposing deep organisms that cannot survive near the surface. You're breaking apart the aggregates, those small clumps held together by fungal threads and microbial glue that give soil its long-term structure. Within 3 weeks of tilling, compacted soil is back, often harder than before. Harold uses a broad fork, 2 handles, long tines, pressed straight down into the soil and rocked back gently to loosen and aerate without flipping. The layers stay intact, the fungal networks stay connected, the biology stays exactly where it belongs. He does it once in early spring across every bed. That is the only time the soil is disturbed. The rest of the year, the mulch, the earthworms, the compost, and the biology keep it loose and open on their own. "My grandfather never owned a rototiller," said Harold to me once. "His soil didn't need one. Mine doesn't either." If your soil is heavily compacted from years of tilling, the first pass with a broad fork will be hard work. The second year will be easier. The third year, you will wonder how you ever gardened any other way.
Now, here's what I promised you at the beginning. The 30-second bare hand soil test Harold's father taught him. No lab, no kit, no guessing. Go out to your garden and dig down about 4 inches. Grab a handful of soil and squeeze it firmly in your fist. Then open your hand. If it holds together in a tight, dense ball that won't break apart, your soil is too heavy with clay. It needs organic matter. If it falls apart the moment you open your hand, it's too sandy. It also needs organic matter. But if it holds together in a loose, soft ball that crumbles gently when you press it, small aggregates, cool, moist, smelling like a forest after rain, that is living soil. That is exactly what you are building toward. Harold does this in every bed, every spring before a single seed goes in. 30 seconds. It tells him everything. Try it tomorrow morning. Your soil already knows what it needs. You just have to ask it. Now, here's my ask in return. If this video gave you something useful, one idea, one shift, one thing you're going to do differently this season, hit that like button. Not for me, because it tells the algorithm that real gardeners are watching, and it puts this in front of someone else who needs it just as much as you did. And if you want to see what's coming next, because what I'm covering next makes today look like the introduction, subscribe and turn the bell on. You don't want to find it 3 months late. Drop your soil test result in the comments. Clay, sandy, or living. Let's see where everyone actually stands. I'll see you in the next one.